Round 3 of the Championship is in the can with two teams still on maximum points and everybody is off the mark. Starting off then with the Friday night game at Hillsborough, it was Sheffield Wednesday 0, Leeds United 2. Now, this is an interesting turn of events for both of these teams because I think there was a lack of assurance for both of these teams heading into this game because Sheffield Wednesday had back-to-back, 4-0 games. They're on the right side of one, the wrong side of the other, and Leeds were just a bit all over the place, to be honest, in the opening few games. So this was a real test to see what both teams could do, and it gave a bit of clarity on both. I think, firstly, for Sheffield Wednesday, that 4-0 win on the opening weekend feels quite a long time ago, to be honest. Since then, they've conceded 6. They haven't scored one. They looked very open defensively in this game, and I think it's a very harsh reality check and bump back down to earth for Wednesday, and it shows that, as a lot of people suspected, there is still work to do, I think, for Wednesday to get themselves into that top half, competing right up there for maybe the playoffs this season, albeit the signs are still good. I think this shows that they're still quite far away, and Leeds, I think they needed this desperately. They had a clean sheet last week against West Brom in a game that wasn't all that entertaining from their point of view. This week they get the job done, and it was the sort of solid, straightforward, just, all-round steady away win that I think was exactly what they needed at this point. So I'll be interested to see how Sheffield Wednesday respond to this and if Leeds can kick on from here. Bristol City 1, Coventry 1, and you can say this again for Bristol City. Like Hull, they coulda, shoulda, had more, and it's another game where they played really well, and they're probably left wondering how they didn't come away with a win from this game. They had fantastic chances in the first half. Coventry looking worryingly blunt, only one shot on target in this game. Another first half performance that, at least from the highlights, didn't look all that good from Coventry. And Bristol City arguably should have won this game. A fantastic volley from Tanner to put them in front. I think Coventry will 100% take a point here, and albeit, looking at the games they've had so far, a poor opening day. They nicked a win against Oxford. They've salvaged a point from here. I think although things could have been a lot better for Coventry and they maybe would have wished for better performances, I definitely think they'll take the points tally they've had so far, but work to do there for Coventry. Whereas Bristol City, on the other hand, maybe don't have the points they deserve from their performances, and maybe they should have beaten Hull and Coventry. But the signs are very, very good for Bristol City, and I think Coventry will definitely take a point from this one. Hull 0, Millwall 0. I did predict a low-scoring game in this one, and there's not much else to say, really. Both teams had equally decent chances. Both sides, again, come away without the result, you could say, they both desired. Hull City's start to the season still remains to be very, very questionable. Again, another game where they don't surpass 1xG. Still not quite sure where Hull are going or what to really expect from them at the moment. And Millwall, I think, as I said in my prediction video before the weekend, they would have wanted a clean sheet here, given the number of goals they've conceded thus far. So they'll take a clean sheet. But again, going to a team like Hull, they had a chance to win this game, maybe edged it on chances created. Might be slightly disappointed they didn't win it, but I think they'll take a clean sheet and a point. And Hull, I can't quite work them out yet. QPR 1, Plymouth 1. QPR will be absolutely scratching their head as to how they didn't win this game. They ended the game with 2 more men than Plymouth, as they were put down to 9 men. After Forshaw was sent off in the first half, there was another sending off second half for a high boot. But yeah, the amount of chances QPR had, I can relate completely as a Boro fan, which I'll get onto shortly. But 30 shots, 10 on target. The Plymouth goalkeeper Hazard deserves incredible credit for some of the saves he was pulling off in this game. They were absolutely fantastic. But, Plymouth, it's a smash and grab. They scored from an utter screamer from Whittaker. Their only shot on target, an XG of 0.14. I won't judge them too harshly, to be fair, Plymouth. I'm not convinced by them away from home whatsoever, but when you're down to 9 men and you come away from a point, snap the hand off of anybody for that at any point against any team away at any ground. So I think they'll absolutely take that, and QPR will see this as 2 absolutely ginormous points that they've dropped. Blackburn 2, Oxford 1. Oxford once again on the narrow end of the wrong result. once again, they put in a fantastic showing. Once again, it was a late goal that was their undoing. From the stats, from the highlights, they had some great chances. They had a header first half, which they should have done better with. Got to credit that volley from Mark Harris, by the way. What a goal that was. And looking at the stats, I mean, it was very, very close between the two. But at the end of the day, at this level, the quality of the opposition in the Championship can prove to be the difference. And Blackburn had that with the equaliser from Rankin Costello and the winner from Sigurdsson. It's just another harsh lesson for Oxford in a sense. And it's a shame for them because I think they probably deserve more points than what their performances have put in. They've looked really, really decent and really, really competitive. But these are the games where, you know, not coming away with that 1 point here and there could prove to be the difference at the end of the season. But, you know, it's not like they're miles off and they're the whipping boys. They're doing a very, very good job so far. And I still believe a lot of their points will probably come at the Kazam if they keep playing like this. And Blackburn just keep winning. Regardless of losing Smodics, they get off to a great start once again under John Eustace. But I've seen this record 100 times with Blackburn. They normally always start well and normally always end up dropping off as the season progresses. So I won't be getting too excited about them just yet. Boro 2, Portsmouth 2. Oh, God. I did a whole Project Boro review on this yesterday on the channel, so go and check that out. But it was Derby point 2 for Boro. You know, once again, unbelievably created 30 shots for Boro in this game. A ridiculous XG, 7 on target. Just absolute annihilation of Portsmouth's box in the second half. But again, you know, despite all of Boro's shots and possession, only 7 on target, 23 shots off target in this game. And again, it was all Boro's undoing that handed the opposition the points. Like with Isaiah Jones's back pass last week at Derby, it was poor defending for the opener and a comical mix-up between Dieng and Clark for the second that just continued to give Boro an uphill struggle we simply didn't need. And once again, we've had to chase a game all because of our own problems and our own self-sabotage. The only difference is this time, luckily, we salvaged it with a point from Tommy Conway, which is the least we deserved. So Portsmouth, you know what, 3 points from 3 games against 3 very, very good teams. They will absolutely take it. What I will say about Pompey, though, I don't know if this crazy open basketball-like style of play is sustainable. I don't know if that is something they'll have to shore up as the season goes on, but I think from what I saw on Saturday, they should be absolutely fine. And as for Boro, I just hope that the ridiculously off-the-scale numbers that we're registering at the minute when it comes to possession and shots will even out, because we're giving the opposition absolutely nothing. 2 of the 3 goals we've conceded are freaks, and we're creating enough chances to win 10 games. So if the numbers even out, I still believe we will be one of the best teams in the league and will put teams away with ease. But right now, it's a case of waiting for that to happen. So more points dropped for Boro, even though the signs remain positive. Portsmouth, though, with another fantastic point on the road. Norwich 1, Sheffield United 1. I think this is a point that both teams will take. I mean, both teams are building a new squad. They're bringing in new players, bedding in new players. Obviously, Norwich with a new manager. I think we're just seeing 2 teams that are just finding their way at this moment in time. And both will take a point. They'll both probably build and improve and be up there towards the end of the season, there and thereabouts in terms of the playoff places. As positive for Norwich as they got Josh Sargent on the score sheet once again. Arblaster got another goal for Sheffield United with another fantastic finish for him. But it was a tight game between both of these sides. And I think for Norwich, with the new era, new manager coming up against a newly promoted side, I think they'll be happy with their showing and they'll take a point. And Sheffield United probably will as well, going away to the Canaries. I think equally you could say Sheffield United would have wanted to build on their opening weekend, win a little bit more instead of having 2 draws. But I think when both teams look back on this fixture at the end of the season, I think they'll be happy with the point they've picked up. Preston 1, Luton 0. Paul Heckingbottom is off and running at Preston with their first win of the season, their first points of the season, and their first goal in the Championship for 8 goddamn games, which is crazy. But still, despite this being a very positive result from Preston, and you know what? I guess in their predicament, you don't care how it comes. You absolutely take it. And they desperately needed to win at any cost. And they did. But it was a bit of a smash and grab. You know, only 2 shots on target here. An XG of 0.26. I think Preston still have a hell of a long way to go, I think, before they're more than convincing to winning games. But this was a day where they did, and Luton, well, they just haven't got going, have they? They created enough, 17 shots in this game, 4 on target. Should have gotten something from this game. They'll be bitterly disappointed that they haven't. And I wouldn't say it's time to be all that concerned by Luton at this point, but conceded 5 defensively, looking a little bit all over the shop at times, only scoring the 1 goal with some of the attackers they have. I still think Luton will sort themselves out, and I think this is when their calmness, when it comes to how they run, really comes into play, whereas a lot of teams might panic. This is where I think Luton, hopefully, will just keep their head and just keep ploughing on, and things will get better and they will move in the right direction. So I think for them, just don't do anything rash, don't panic. Albeit it's not been a good start, I think they just need to hang on in there and they will acclimatise eventually. Preston, though, it's all about whether they can build on this. If they sort of regress back to where they've been in the next game, this win will kind of be for nothing. Stoke 1, West Brom 2. Stoke continue to be Stoke. They've lost at home once. Again, to be fair, Stoke had quite a few chances in this game. I think they hit the woodwork on a number of occasions. Matched West Brom in terms of chances. And, it's one of them games where Carlos Corberán and his team, as they do, find a way of getting the job done. The equaliser for Stoke was a delightful goal from Kumas, a very, very nice goal. But Madge's winner was equally as brilliant, with great work from Tom Fellows on the right-hand side. This is what West Brom do. This is what they do under Corberán. All the noise, all the concern. They just find a way. They find a way to pick up points and they quietly go about their business, and that's exactly what they did last season, and I stand by the fact that this is probably what they'll go and do again. They're just so good at quietly doing the job, getting the points and cracking on. So, you know what, in hindsight, this might not be a bad defeat for Stoke, going up against a team who probably will be in and around the playoffs at the end of the season, but I think it's safe to say the usual Stoke pre-season optimism has already started to bite a few on the arse, as it does every season, as they've now lost, 2 of their opening 3 after an opening day win. Stoke have returned to being Stoke. West Brom, they continue to be West Brom. Sunderland 1, Burnley 0. Wow, okay. Sunderland. Now, I'm not going to quite say that Gab Sutton's absolutely audacious pre-season prediction of Sunderland to win the title is accurate. I still don't think that will happen, but they are starting to excite a few people, and I think as a neutral, with my neutral hat on, obviously not with my Boro hat on, with my neutral hat on, it's hard to not look past Sunderland and be rather excited by what Reggie Lebris is doing there with this incredibly young team. They've won 3 in a row without conceding, and the signs are incredibly promising, and if they can build on this now, they definitely have to be in the conversation for playoffs. You've got to say that. However, we've seen this on many occasions, in many seasons. There are always teams, we've seen Preston do it last season, we've seen Blackburn do it. Teams you always get them 1 or 2 who start like a house on fire, and inevitably it evens out, and inevitably they drop back into the playoffs, and sometimes they drop out. So it all depends on how long Sunderland can maintain this and keep it up. They've got crowd, they've got the stadium, they've got all the atmosphere, everything they can give to give that a chance and have a really good chance of maintaining that. But I still think with such a young team over the course of the season, they will drop off gradually. They're certainly proving a lot of people wrong, and it's a very good start for them. As for Burnley, well, we asked the question last week, didn't we? After they'd scored 9 goals from a combined XG of, was it 2? We asked the question of whether Burnley were a side who have been ridiculously overperforming, and like I've been saying with Boro an hour, ridiculously outlandish data, things will eventually average out and Burnley will regress to the mean, or will they just continue to be an overperforming monster who are just so clinical? But once again, they had an XG here of 0.13, only 1 shot on target, and yes, Sunderland deserve credit for that to a degree. Burnley haven't actually been all that creative, and it does go back to the way Scott Parker sets his teams up, and you do look at this and think, is the opening 2 game optimism that carried Burnley through, is that going to fizzle away quite quickly here? Because not only does the data especially make Burnley look like they've overperformed dramatically and might not be as good as we actually think they are, but the number of players they're losing, and some of the comments that are coming out of that club are really concerning. Scott Parker, I think he said 14 players were, I don't know if it was 14 players were available or 14 players were out, but all the players that were in were the only ones who basically want to be here. All the ones that weren't involved here were players that did not want to be at the club, which is a huge, huge concern. Burnley are losing players, and they've not got very long to replace them. So albeit I still feel like they've got a very good squad left, it's miles off of the team they had, and you've got to think that maybe Scott Parker and his style of play, it is going to catch up with them, and Burnley might not be the force we maybe thought they would be in the opening 2 games. So yeah, certainly it's worth watching this space with both of these sides. Watford 2, Derby 1. Derby will be disappointed that they weren't able to capitalise on an early goal here. It was a fantastic cushion volley by Ebu Adams in this one, and I'd say a better showing from Derby compared to what I saw last week against Boro. They continue to probably look more dangerous again from crosses and set pieces than they do open play, which is still something I genuinely feel like will catch up with them and cost them throughout the season. Only 3 shots on target at the end of the day here. But Watford have won 3 from 3, and what can you say? You know, yep, you could say that the teams who they've beaten thus far, you've had Derby, you've had Stoke, you know, Millwall, who themselves haven't looked fantastic. So what will happen when Watford come up against better teams? That will be interesting, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and Watford did just that once again. I'm going to say what I said before. Watford are not going to be up and around that part of the table, in my opinion. You know, once everything starts to even out, they will drop off, I think, when they play better sides, but at this part of the season, they're picking up points, massive points that will be a good springboard for them to hopefully have a good season. So yeah, it's a good win for them. As for Derby, I remain incredibly unconvinced. Finally, Swansea 1, Cardiff 1. I think Swansea will be disappointed here. I saw the first half of this game, and Cardiff looked pretty dreadful, I'm going to be honest. And Swansea, albeit they didn't create that much in terms of clear-cut chances on target, they'll be, I think, ruining the period of dominance they had in that first half, where they would have hoped they could have put Cardiff away. Naturally, towards the end of the first half, actually, in second half, Cardiff improved, which is fair play to them, and they did get an equalising goal through Robinson in the second half, but I still wouldn't say Cardiff looked all that convincing, and Errol Bullock got himself sent off as well. But I think just given recent history between these two sides in this very fixture, I think it's safe to say Swansea will be the ones more disappointed that they've dropped 2 points. And I think, to be fair, given the first half performance, Cardiff will be delighted that they've taken away 1. So there's my roundup of the Championship Roundup Week 3. We'll be back later this week to predict Round 4 before the horrid, dreaded international break, which has come way too early, as it always does. And then we'll obviously review Round 4 once again after next week's games are done and dusted. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on your team, this weekend's fixtures, who stood out for you, who maybe started to concern you, and how the Championship is shaping for you at, granted, is still a very, very early stage. As I say, like the video, it really supports the channel out, and subscribe for much, much more. And until next time, guys, a big thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.